Hi, today I want to talk about the eye construction. The eye, it's a very interesting and very complicated facial detail. And if we want to learn how to draw, paint portraits, of course we need to know how to draw and paint the facial detail. So today I want to talk more about the eye construction. So how to draw the basic eyeball form, shape. We'll talk a little bit about the details of the eye, and this video is made for my Patreon. So follow me on Patreon to get more information, more useful videos, and also don't forget that I have quite a lot of tutorials how to paint portraits in oils and acrylics. You will find them on my website. All the links for you I will leave in the description box under this video. Check them out, and if you're ready, let's begin. So before you want to start working on a human eye, before you want to paint or draw it, it's important to understand its construction. It's pretty complex because it has quite a lot of details, right? And sometimes we see too many details instead of seeing the big form, the big shape. The eye has a spherical shape, so when you want to draw an eye, remember that there is a big eyeball under the eyelids. We don't see the biggest part of it, but we need to understand that it exists, right? So, of course, remember that it has a spherical shape. So the eyeball has a spherical shape. And of course, we don't see it like that. When you look at a person, when you do a portrait, for example, we don't see this big eyeball. But again, we need to understand that it is there in the eye socket, covered with the eyelids. So the biggest mistake I have noticed the beginners make is just the misunderstanding of its construction. So beginners don't really understand its shape, and that's why quite often we see that beginners start drawing eyes like this, making this almond shape, yeah, which is quite incorrect. So don't ever draw like this. A spherical shape has 3 dimensions, right? So we never do just flat. Always remember that we have a light source, yeah? So light is coming usually from above, which means that there will be at some moment a border between the light and shadow, yeah? Let's say here. This is the darkest area. And then we get a shadow, or shadow. So you see that very quickly with a few lines just darkening in the shadow, we start working on the volume of this sphere, right? Again, why we do this? Why do we do this spherical shape? Because we want to demonstrate that there is light and shadow. That's how we see volume, yeah? This is a flat circle. Here we get some volume. Just because we do lights and do shadows, we get volume, it's flat, yeah? 3-dimensional and flat. Great, so what do we do next? Next, we start recalling what we know about the eye. So it's a human eye, right? So it must have eyelids, upper eyelid and lower eyelid. It has an iris, it has a pupil and cornea. Some other details like eyelashes, but we don't need them right now. And when you do the eyelids, what's really important is to remember that they are kind of lying on top of this spherical shape, right? So we don't do this almond shape. We kind of try to follow the spherical shape. Remember that the eyelids are not flat, right? So they have a thickness. So we need to remember that there is another direction, yeah? So the eyelid gets a thickness. We have upper edge and lower edge. which is usually pretty dark because again, light comes from above, we get quite a lot of light over here, not so much light over there. Usually it's in a kind of dark shadow. It's pretty important that here in the corner, upper eyelid overlaps the lower eyelid, yeah? So the lower eyelid goes like under it, that direction. Again, don't make them meet together in one point. It's incorrect, yeah? This is incorrect. So it will be correct to overlap. So in this place, the upper eyelid always overlaps the lower one. It's really important because all the eyes professionals, they will see this mistake immediately. This looks pretty wrong. Again, remember that we have sclera, the white of the eye, yeah? And then we have the thickness of the lower eyelid, because it's not flat either. Usually it's a bit thinner than the upper eyelid. The upper eyelid is usually slightly wider and thicker, right? But we need to remember about this thickness as well. In the center. And the upper eyelid overlaps it, yeah? The lower eyelid usually touches it or sometimes overlaps, but the upper eyelid always overlaps it. And in the center we have a pupil that is pure black usually. So again, as I mentioned at the very beginning, we have to keep in mind this big spherical shape, which means that we can't just make it simply white, yeah? Here we get more light because the light is coming from above. There we have less light because of 3 dimensions. The eye turns away from the light source, yeah? Turns away meaning getting darker, but it also turns away that way, yeah? So we have lighter tone, darker tone, lighter tone, darker tone, yeah? So we need to slightly darken where it turns away, including the sclera. We never do it simply white, yeah? We also make it darker, and here we also make it slightly darker. Remember that because of the thickness, yeah, the upper eyelid casts a shadow on the surface of the sclera and iris. So there will be a dark shadow over there, a cast shadow. So here is the basic shape, basic form of the eye, of the eyeball, yeah? You can always develop it and make it more detailed. And of course, if you make a human portrait, we are not drawing literally like this, because this is what we need to understand once, and then just demonstrate the final result on your drawing or painting. Just always keep in mind that we start off with this basic form. Otherwise, we'll end up having a very flat eye, very wide eye, where the sclera looks pretty wide, yeah? And again, if you understand this shape, you will understand that here and there tones get darker, so this part darker than there, this is lighter than this part, yeah? And it's pretty important because otherwise you can do as many details as you want. You can do lots of eyelashes, but it's not going to affect the basic form, yeah? If you don't understand these constructional moments, you will most likely fail because details are not that important as this construction, right? So let's sum up. Always remember that it's a spherical 3-dimensional form. Remember that all the details belong to the spherical form, so they kind of lie on top of it, yeah? Don't make it flat. Remember about tonal values. Lighter, darker, lighter, darker, lighter, darker. This is the way to create the volume. And of course, remember to subscribe to my channel, follow me on Patreon, and download the full video tutorials from my webpage, where you'll find a lot more information I make specially for you. Thank you for watching, guys, and see you soon.